Attempting to figure out where all my water is coming from in this boat. Every time I'm out, I get a tremendous amount of water that ends up in my hull, and I can't seem to figure out where it's coming from. So I filled up the rear live well, not filled it, but it's about where it normally resides. When there's water, when the live well pump is turned on, and it's kind of hard to get in there. But no leaks at that point that I can see. Well, it does appear to be wet around the drain valve. Occasionally I can see a drip coming out. I just heard it dripped. So it looks like that valve is leaking. I'm looking at these valves, these little through-hole things. This is the water inlet or outlet from the bait well pump. They got sealant on the hose, but there's absolutely no sealant on that connection fitting right there, where it meets the fiberglass. And from what I can see, there's no sealant on the bottom of that drain fitting either, except on the hose. This seems to be the common shit with Carolina skiff. They don't seal anything. Looking at some more goopy stuff here. It's epoxy where the liner meets the transom. One of the things I mentioned, I think maybe before, is these drains that go outside. I normally plug them when I launch my boat because water never ends up coming out of them anyway. But it's cracked. There's a crack right there. It's like it's separated from the material that it's glassed into. So anywhere you got a crack, water will seep. But again, I plugged those, so I'm not sure that's a problem. Alright. So anyway, live well's about at its natural position. I'm going to completely fill it, see what happens. I know one of the things that's been a common problem on a lot of my boats is these live well liners in there, the fiberglass insert liner. They don't get sealed very well to the deck. Usually because it's tight spacing, those kind of things, and they've always been a problem on some of my other boats. So that's where I'm going to suspect my water intrusion is coming from, at least a good portion of it. Even though the live well doesn't fill completely up, when you're out on bay conditions, sea conditions, and the boat's rocking back and forth and you're running, that water in this live well is sloshing around. And when it sloshes enough over a period of hours, I'm sure it could offset a lot of water into the bilge. So I'm going to fill this up. I got that valve under there turned off so no water can leak back through into the pump. But I want to see where this water's coming from. I did fill this one up in my center console seat area. It looks like it's staying level. Well, it's not going down anyway. So that one doesn't appear to be leaking where I thought it would leak. Open up this hatch, see if I see any drips. Yep. Bone dry inside there, so it ain't coming from that. So, incidentally, I had a cracked recirc pump on this well, and it was spewing water all over the place. Carolina sent me a new pump. Alright, filling it up. Fill. Uh-oh. I hear water leaking somewhere. Oh yeah, it's pouring. Alright. Let's find a way to stop my hose. Alright, hose is stopped. We're not quite to the rim. Now granted, these live wells don't fill like this, but when you're out in the boat, that water's sloshing all over the place in there. And you can definitely hear it pouring. Oh yeah. It's just pouring out of everywhere. So, Carolina skiff did an absolute shit job securing that bait well liner to the deck. You know, a lot of boat companies do shit jobs doing this crap. You know, only the better boat companies seem to. And this is a design flaw, because there's very little room in between these things to try to get in there and glass. You know, I've actually added liners and stuff like that to some of my hulls when I've pulled the caps and the decks off to replace stringers and shit. You know, I'll make some fiberglass boxes and stuff. When I do it, I seed a lot of fiberglass, what I call butter. It's a thickened whatever. I'll set a big bead of that around my opening, and I'll press my liner into it, and then I'll glass around it, and I usually get a pretty good seal. I don't know why the hell these manufacturers don't do this shit, but that's just sloppy. In my opinion, that's unacceptable. I'm definitely going to address this. I want this fixed. My guess is the only way to fix it is to get a new rear deck liner, because they're not slapping silicone on there. They're going to have to fix it right. But I can't have that. I can't have that much salt water pouring into my hull. Because I'm out in the water 8, 10, 12 hours. Sometimes I'm in 2-3 foot seas, swells. I'm rocking back and forth, and I imagine that thing's just dumping gallons into this hull. You know, rainwater's one thing. Salt water, different story. That's unacceptable. That's where I figured it was coming from. Some of it anyway. I don't know if my hoses are leaking or not, but I'll have to check that next time it's in the water. I think I did check it last time I had it out. I didn't see anything leaking. But again, there's the fill hose that fills this one and that front live well run under deck. God knows what the problem is. There's been some discussions about penetrations in the deck, making sure everything is sealed, blah, all that crap. You know, obviously, you get a penetration like that. Now, this area here is actually molded and part of this unit. It's like an enclosed box that sits on top of this floor. There's a raceway under here, that kind of thing. And then you look here on this console seat, you know, they put a little outer bead of caulk, silicone or something around there. But it's actually a sealed unit. There is a floor in here. So when they come up, they cut a big hole through the console seat, and then they cut a hole in the deck. Now, the hole that they cut into the deck, it's just wide open. And I don't see any sealant anywhere. See, you can see underneath that plastic thing, it's just open. So, you know, any water that gets in here, which really water shouldn't get in here unless something leaks. And this stayed pretty dry. Again, this was leaking pretty bad because that live well pump up there was cracked. No, she's not leaking now, I know that. So, this is okay. Now, yeah, this thing's holding water. I'm going to pull that plug, let it drain. Ooh, shit. But this back one, I'm going to guess anybody that buys one of these DLVs and they do the same test, they're going to leak like a sieve. That's unacceptable. They need to fix that. You know, number one, I got all kinds of thread fin herring, scales, so you know, all that shit floating in there, all that smelly ass salt water from all that crap. You know, that gets into my hull and it stinks. Alright. Well, I got a feeling that's where most of it's coming from. And it's also probably backing up into my wire trough and getting out into the side garboard areas and draining out there too, because again, over a course of several hours, that can be extreme. Alright, a few more things I want to address. These drains in this splash pail back here where the motor is, this area right here, hydraulic lines in the way, right here, it's a little dirty now, but that actually looks like brushed on gel coat that hasn't been finished. So that obviously was an area of issue in the molding process of this deck. So they brushed on gel coat. Because when that's dry and that's clean, that looks like shit down there. Also, this plastic drain that comes out. Oh, look at that. I just stuck my finger in there. And look. It just pulled the fuck right out. Are you shitting me? Holy crap. That's just unbelievable. Unfriggin' believable. And there are obviously two parts, because there's another part in there that goes to the outside. But, oh, now I can't get it off my finger. Oh. I swear to you, I haven't tried that before. I just stuck it in. And look at that. That's just ridiculous. I'm feeling right there. There's transom material. If this wasn't Coosa core, if this was wood, in about 2 years, that would be absolutely rotted. And the poor bastard that bought this boat in 5, 6, 7 years down the road will be putting a new transom in. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Alright, let me look at this other one. Back over here, you can actually see the sloppy gel coat. See if I can clean it. I mean, this was definitely put on with a brush or something. It's all bumpy. That's shit. That's where, when they released this deck liner from its mold, it pulled stuff with it. So that was their shitty ass way of fixing it. I mean, look at that. You know, and silicone caulk crap gooped up there. Try the same thing with this one. Oh, look at that. It comes right the fuck out. Ain't that a son of a bitch? Huh. That's interesting. Well, you know what? I'm going to send this video to Carolina Skiff, and I'm going to ask them, how drunk are the people working for you making your boats? Because that's ridiculous. Anyway, alright. Because I'm in a nitpick session right now. Let me see what else I can find. Alright, this I found the other day when I was running my wires in here for my trim tabs. Again, it's a little messy, I haven't cleaned it up yet. See that screw right back there? See how it's coming out of the floor? About a half an inch. It was never, and it's tight. It's not like it popped out. Or maybe it's just not screwed down all the way. I'm gonna guess Beer 30 rolled around and everybody decided they were just gonna drop their shit and leave the plant. You know, it's that kind of crap that just it annoys me. Alright, let's see what else I can find. Alright, I brought this up I think in one of my other videos and I haven't addressed it yet. I probably will here this weekend. This thing, it just pushes right out. I mean, come on. You know, I'm sure being a boat manufacturer, you'd get a pretty good deal on some 5200. You know, really? You couldn't just slap, or, you know, a couple screws or something. But no. When you're bouncing around in seas, that flies right out. I'm usually picking that up out of the back of the boat. That annoys the crap out of me, stuff like this. Alright, a couple more things I noticed. This console thing here, that's not sealed. Water leaks through these instruments into the console. This switch, this is not sealed. This is just screwed to there. The only thing that's actually sealed on this console is my dealer installed radios, my installed trim tab switches, and my dealer installed compass. Everything else from the manufacturer isn't sealed, so when this console gets wet, water gets in there. So don't store anything under there because it ain't dry at all. I think I mentioned the sealing stuff before in my other videos too. These rod holders, they're not sealed. Water gets in through there. So I'm not really sure what the point of putting them drains on there are when you don't seal the stupid rod holder. I brought this up in one of my other videos too. This big spider crack thing going on here. This was either on the boat prior to me buying it, or it happened on the way home from the dealer, because I immediately noticed this when I got the boat home. And it's grown a little bit more. And based on the way it's cracking, I'm gonna guess gel coat's gonna start popping out. Carolina specifically states in their 5-year limited warranty that they don't warrant gel coat cracks. And when you call Carolina Skiff and you complain about it, they tell you that dealer must have did it, or I misused the boat. That's why they don't warrant it, because they can't control how somebody uses it. Well, I'm sorry, but I don't know how the dealer would have done something like that. That's not an impact crack, I can tell you that right now. there's no damage to any of the gel coat surface. This is literally a lamination problem underneath this gel coat. So I'd imagine that's going to be a problem down the road. And I know typically on gel coat areas, usually where there's problems are on corners, tight corners. When they use their chopper guns and they blow this glass on there, you know, they get quick and in a hurry, and they don't get enough material and resin into there.